Hello, hello, beautiful people, mi gente bella. Welcome to another edition of Santana Says, where we talk about everything from Roblox to relationships, everything in between, and the overall journey of life. I'm excited as always, not only to bring you another edition of the show, not only that we have a guest, but that my voice is back. It was terrible, nena. I did like a show last week, and my voice was...
Gárgara.
Yeah, nena. Y necesita más té or something, porque Dios mío, estaba bendito sequecita. So it was horrible, y'all, but y'all got me. You know what I'm saying? I'm back.
You're back.
I'm back. I got a voice, and like we gonna do this thing. But as y'all heard, ya un poquito, a little bit of Spanglish, as I promised y'all, because I did promise that we were gonna have a little bit of Spanglish, mix it up a little bit, so y'all gonna hear it all. And we have a lot of Spanish listeners, so we have people from Texas, California, you know what I'm saying? Tenemos donde quiera, so we actually get out here, y'all. Like we have
They know
been...
Spanglish. It's the language of the future.
You better, exactly. And if you don't know, you gonna know today, you know what I'm saying? So yes, so that's happening. But with that being said, we have somebody wonderful today. I would love for you to tell the beautiful people quién eres, a little bit about you, your journey. Just who are you?
I'm Mariela Loengo. The first thing you should know is I'm such a hardcore fan of you.
Oh, wait, what?
I feel like online we have crossed paths so many times, and we see each other, and we also see each other, you know, in person. We have been in the same organizations. I know your family. I know your girls. I think your girls need a job at like ambassadors of the community. Like they know what is happening.
They do know.
They
got little posts on things.
Sí, y ellas saben cómo sacar fotos y saben cómo siempre están vestidas, siempre están. O sea, your daughters are part of the scene of what's happening in Cleveland.
I appreciate it.
Really love that.
Oh my gosh, that's so good. I can't wait to tell them later too. I'm like, guess what, y'all? You was getting bragged on. But I love that. And I appreciate that because speaking of which, one of our things is Julio de Burgos. We were just saying that is one of our connectors. So y'all, if y'all don't know, it is a wonderful cultural arts center here. But I'm curious, how did you end up, con all things Julio de Burgos in Cleveland?
Yeah, so Julio de Burgos now is a full cycle moment because I'm no longer in the board. So now I get to just be a fan.
Yeah, enjoy.
But in the beginning, it was because Hurricane Maria. Hurricane Maria vino. I was new in Cleveland, and in the minute that I saw how they were organizing themselves, I was like, okay, it's something here. And the history of the center is like one of the best untold histories of just founders who were dos Puerto Ricanas, maestra, two Puerto Rican teachers who were like, our kids need a place to be themselves and they need identity.
Exactly.
And 4 years later, now the place is there, and we have different questions now, right? The whole division that we have in Cleveland about los puertorriqueños acá y los mexicanos acá y los dominicanos allá y los negritos acá.
Right.
That's obsolete.
Yeah.
That's no longer true. And,
we're not doing
we
that.
have to deal with that Latinidad now and serve that now.
Ooh, absolutely. And I love to hear that because that's also why I'm a fan of yours. So, reciprocal, because that's actually what I was thinking. Because actually what I love is anybody that challenges like the thought, you know what I mean, of others and like can look at things critically from like those different lenses. But I actually love what you just said, you know what I mean? And so like, I think there's not enough of us that do understand the need for us to come together, you know, with our different communities and not to operate in silos. But I feel like too often that does happen. And also I didn't even officially shout out, pero es el mes de la herencia hispana, so it is Hispanic Heritage Month. And it's funny because I said the same though as far as, and we'll get into that, but you know, the commercialism that's behind all of that, that's exactly why you're here today. So I was like, you know, we will get into that, but since it is that month, you know, why not? Let's, you know, take advantage of it, amplify the conversations around it. But yes, I do appreciate what you said. I do feel like too often we do operate in silos, especially in a city like Cleveland. And so I'm curious if you've seen that also play out and like how, like you said, like the efforts that are now people are taking to counteract that.
100%. Those silos were made there by colonizers too. They knew that keeping us divided was a way to control us more.
Exactly.
They fed stories about how we have to compete for crumbs instead of having a right to the pie.
Yep.
And thankfully, we have a whole generation of leaders who are now playing by those rules, who are dismantling that. I have so much hope in the new generations who are like, no, we're not doing that. Look at my cousins. Look at who I'm dating. Look at my parents, right?
Right.
We can no longer pretend that we don't know where your grandma is.
Right.
And who she is.
Exactly.
De tu abuela, ¿dónde está? That whole concept of like, we fighting for white allocation and to pursuit of whiteness, that's dead.
Yeah, it is though, and I love that we are taking stands against that. Like I feel like I love that people are more aware of that and that it needs to be left behind, because really to like get to real liberation, no, like upholding those archaic principles, we absolutely should not. So I love that we do have, like you said, like different and the staples that we now have in the community, like Corte de Burgos, and so like the fact that there were great people, the community organizers that essentially brought this forward, and that they now have a space. So now I know I had said that because we also had like June Colon on there, who also used to be a board member, but the fact that they now even have that, because Bendito, for a while they were actually sharing space with others, little did everybody know, but still having these robust programs, y'all, you know what I'm saying? I was there.
It's irresponsible.
Right.
I mean, when I see what Hispanic communities do versus the funding that they get, and I think it's criminal.
Yeah.
And I don't know, being exaggerating that language is criminal. Yes, everybody nonprofit gets stretched and pulled. People of color get even more.
Yep.
And
Come on now.
I also think we are people who are doers. If you ask our community, I need this done tonight, people will stay up and they will do it with their hands. They will show up, they will volunteer, they will bring their prima, their cousin, and it will get done.
Oh, yeah.
But if you say something like, we have to change the bylaws.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Right, that institutional knowledge, we don't have the privilege to have it. We are learning it. We have to teach it to each other. We have to bring each other. We have to mentor each other on it.
Yep.
Because it's literally a foreigner language for us.
Yeah, that is true though. Yeah, absolutely, because I was thinking, I was like, even myself, I mean, I've been growing in those places, and I'm glad that we also are taking more advantage of the fact that there are resources out there to help us educate on that. But much like the things that you just discussed, even knowing that we are colonized and even knowing those things, you have to seek out that information because it's not going to be readily given.
You have to play the game.
No, exactly. Why not? And I mean, and speaking of that, like, do you feel like, how have you effectively been able to do that? Because you haven't even told all the people. I know you do a myriad of things, but I'm curious how you do that yourself.
So I opened my own agency, right?
Hey,
I was kind of in the sense of like, if I am going to screw it up, I'm going to screw it up on my name.
Right. Forget it, yeah.
Forget it. I'm going to own it and all of these things. And I very purposely also believe the private sector have a huge role to play in social justice.
That's right.
Yes, nonprofit have their space, activism, advocacy, all of these things, and the people who pay taxes and employ people to also have a role to play.
Amen.
So we opened an agency where we specialize in Black and Brown communities called Pueblo. We're in Camps Corner. And all that our premises is that most data that we have around people of color is racist data and it's incorrect.
Yeah, it is though.
So I built an agency to disprove that and then say, nobody will tell us better where we need to go that ourselves. So we work a lot in messaging and branding and marketing through that point of view that you don't get it, even right now where we are working towards public health and we have a huge election coming up in November, 72% of Latinas are pro-choice. And
yikes. Okay.
And that's a number that we're not telling each other. We're not discussing it out loud, but we all know that's true. Yep. If you see comiendo empanadillas con your primas, most of them will want the choice of what to do with their body.
Yeah, absolutely. And as they should, so I mean, so I'm glad to hear that at least that is there, and I'm so glad that you are dispelling and being able to let people know about that, because no, I agree. It's not necessarily something that people readily have, and I am glad that you're shedding light on that. And as a result, I love that you made the agency. So hello, shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? Because we need more of that and being able to say that. And my apologies, I didn't mean to say yikes as it's a bad thing. I think it's awesome. You know what I'm saying? That
I knew your jokes.
Okay, good.
I was
about to say, let's make sure we're clear, because I do my work for Planned Parenthood, so we don't play that. You know what I'm saying? I probably am there, but it's like, wow, that's actually like, it's great to know that we have those numbers and all that, and that we can know exactly the extent and the amounts. But so with that, like, do you actually, where is it that you take it? Like, who are the people that you work with and like that you provide this research for? Like, where does it go?
So we work with different institutions. Public health is a very big one. We try to tell hospitals, if you want to reach Hispanic patients, don't email them.
I know. Why would you do that?
Don't email them.
Right.
Mira, vamos a responder un WhatsApp más rápido que vamos a responder un email.
Exactamente.
Don't do that. We also try to say things like translation is not enough.
Right.
What, you have to write in culturally competent language.
Exacto.
Including in Spanglish.
Right.
So we're very big into that. And we also bring it to the commercial space, which is what we were talking early. For us, what happening commercially is a great thermometer of how much power we're accumulating and how dangerous we can be to change the system.
Absolutely. And what I love about that is, so we're saying that obviously, so in order to do this, yes, we have the nonprofits, and yes, we do that work. And like you said, it is also criminal, the amount of funding that they receive or that don't. But we do live in the private United States of America. So like, it's the monopoly of them. You know what I mean? Like, it's literally built with corporations. You could, there's just no way to escape that. And so I love that, like you said, we're going to need that buy-in in order for the change to really take place. Because if you just operate with just, you know, your wonderful morals and all those great things, and you don't have that, I mean, you're just going to be operating by yourself, unfortunately, because of the way it's set up. So it's,
I think Selena Pagan, the president of YLN, shout out to her.
Exactly.
She always talk about the village and who belong in the village, right? And how everybody have roles to play.
Yes.
And how we have to get out of the silos of the roles and see ourselves in the ecosystem of what it would take to change.
Absolutely.
And I think that's just a story that have not been told to us.
Right.
And then other people like Marcia Moreno, right, are also
another shout out.
Another shout out. They're trying to say, hey, we belong in these spaces too, and we can all walk together from different paths. And our community have a very rich history of activism.
Yes.
We're not lazy people. We're not people who are not educated. We're not the people, you know, the whole idea that our community have been passive is a lie.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have built this city.
Absolutely.
I feel we have built the region, right?
Yep.
Like the whole history from what happened to Lorraine 56 years ago is evidence that we have been around for over a century in this city. Like the whole idea that we're like now organizing is a lie.
Exactly. Like we just woke up now.
We just wake up now.
Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. And actually too, like, and I'm sure, have you been part of like the Villa Hispana and all that? And like,
huge fan of what's happening at Villa Hispana, right? So let's take La Villa Hispana as an example of a community that can hold a vision for decades.
Yes.
Tell me any other community with the level of resistance in this city that will say, we're not giving up in this vision and we're going to hold it for decades and have been able to successfully transition leadership to make it happen.
Come on.
Forget about the building. The building will be gorgeous and spectacular and all of that. It means nothing against what this community have to endure for decades to make it happen. I am so looking forward.
I agree. And so for those who don't know, so Villa Hispana is like this whole project where it's really, and what I love too is that it's a slap in the face to gentrification because yes, it is. And I love that we're doing it. And I love, like, shout out to places like, you know, Paseo Boricua in Chicago. So any people from Chicago, shout out to y'all. That was always inspiring to me to see that. And so now in Cleveland, we're going to have an area with Latino owned businesses, you know what I mean? All these things in the same strip, like servicing. So they're like owned by Latinos, servicing Latinos, like have all these great things and all in one space. And so yes, agreed. I have heard about this years ago. So like you said, and I want to absolutely uplift and emphasize, like as you mentioned, that the people that were behind this, there were a lot of effort, you know what I mean, blood, sweat, and tears that gone into projects like this, but they did also have to sustain it for years, like you mentioned.
They have to, and like Janice to have the emotional intelligence to bring it together with all the economic development brains that she also had to bring. It could not be an easy task. I think it's going to be so emotional, and yes, it's going to produce these numbers, it's going to produce the dollars, it's going, like you say, gentrification slap in their face, but also what a trophy of resistance.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's looking forward very much to that.
Exactly. So we do have some heavy hitters, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Don't sleep on us over here in Cleveland, because agreed. And Janice is another person that we will shout out. She actually, speaking of full circle moments, she reminded me that she was the person that interviewed me during my Esperanza interview. So like what? I was like, wow, that's so crazy. I was so nervous that day, y'all. Esperanza.
Also, we're too close here in Cleveland. We know each other too much.
There's no such thing as like 6 degrees of separation. No. I pretty much know your cousin, your auntie, like we all in there. La comunidad is like super fuerte. So like it's definitely there, and I do love that. That's why I was like, wow, like there's always been one way or another that we've either crossed paths, you know what I'm saying, have been on similar like projects, but like are able to infiltrate. And that's what I think is awesome about what you're doing. So the infiltration is awesome.
I'm all about that.
Yes. Yes.
I call it the Robin Hood effect.
Let's go.
Yes.
Okay.
I feel like I have been very privileged in my life to be in places of power and money and learn their ways and learn their techniques. And my whole job is to be a Robin Hood type where I take the best and bring it to the communities that need it without inviting them over.
Exactly.
I believe in gates.
Yep.
I believe we have enough autonomy to dictate what we want to do.
Yep.
We just need to have an equal footing in accessibility to the money and the power.
Absolutely. But that's another thing you do here. So one, I also wanted to uplift that I agree with you that so passive and Latino oxymoron. I don't know why we're putting those in the same sentence and making it seem like Latinos, we don't be, you know what I'm saying? We do this. But also I love what you just said too, like, so, you know, and the fact that you shared, you know, like the privilege, but the fact that you're using it for good, you know what I mean? So you're channeling what you had before, but that's actually what I don't know too much about. So, you know, like you said, like, and I don't think there's enough Latinos speaking about that actually have that, you know, agency and like can channel the privilege that they also have and can exercise. Not all of them are being a part of that conversation and knowing that they could also join in these efforts. But I am curious about you, like what, you know, your background is and how, you know, you had all that.
I was very lucky. I went to grad school here and I could not afford to go to grad school. I was so poor. Right. Like when you know that you're in class but you're hungry and you don't have the meal plan that all of your other people have. Yes. And I became a nanny of a family that needed like an overnight nanny. So I would go to school in the day and I was staying with the family at night.
Oh, wow.
And when I graduate, they're like, listen, we're going to fire you as our nanny, but we're going to hire you to run our family foundation.
What? How awesome is that? Talk about an upgrade, but go ahead.
Yes.
Wow.
But I, as a nanny, I joined the Nanny Association, which we became a union, and we were dealing with a lot of labor laws issues, and we were dealing a lot with human trafficking issues because there happened a lot of domestic workers. So I really could have avoided go to grad school, and I just everything that I have is because I was a domestic worker and took my job serious and with pride and with dignity. And I did have a family and an employer who noticed me.
Yes.
That was it.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I feel like that's always not what you hear either. You know what I mean? It's
No.
much the opposite because, I mean, and then that's the thing. We act like there's a justification behind that. Like, oh, well, since you're taking this role, like, I don't necessarily have to put, you know what I mean, as much esteem into that. You know, like, oh, like, there's not much to that. And it's funny because speaking of, like, human trafficking in that, I mean, hello, like, as y'all heard during the, you know, as I was trying to allude to and educate on between sex work and human trafficking, one, they're not synonymous, but also sex workers as well as victims of human trafficking both still deserve respect. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. And so, like, I'm sorry, we don't get to say that because someone is engaging in anything sexual or what have you, because they do have agency over their bodies, they're allowed to participate. And as long as there's a trade exchange happening and there's an agreement, that agreement needs to be honored. And
100%.
so, like, yes, I, you know, always take full on that one, but I love that. I did not know that. So, like, you were in that
literally
world.
my background, being a nanny.
Okay. Wow. But it led to this, and you were seen.
It led to this, and it have led to like a beautiful career where I get to choose a lot of what I do and what clients I pick, and I go to bed trying to think about what we're going to answer, what is going to be the future. I think a lot about legacy. Right. I think about like Latinidad in the States is going to be a super majority.
Yep. Hey.
And if we don't do groundwork now and we don't fix what is broken internally right now and we don't get over some of the colorism and biases and internal racism that we have, we're going to be horrible as a majority.
Yep.
If we don't fix it now, we're going to be powerless, even having the numbers to be the most powerful.
Exactly.
So I am very invested in what kind of things we have to do.
Right.
To when we have the numbers and we have that power, we use it well and we are equipped to do it.
Oh gosh, yes. And I love not so many things about that, but like you said, because that is interesting, it's such a numbers game currently. You know what I mean? So like literally regarded as a minority because numbers wise, but then also regarded as a minority for other reasons. And unfortunately, without the proper education, like you said, and access to the right things, we will continue to operate as a minority. Even though we'll be numbers wise a majority, unfortunately that, you know, we won't be able to reach the heights that we could be if we don't organize properly and like no.
And for me, the first thing that we need to figure out internally is our relationship with the Black community. It's starting with Afro Latinidad.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. Yes.
Right? That grandparent issue that we have inherited, we have very short amount of time to resolve it and
Let's
do it
go.
properly and do it well.
That's right.
And we also have to hold the fact that I always try to explain to people that when I'm in a space of privilege, they may think I am the housekeeper. But if I was a black man, they would think I was there for stealing.
Yeah,
and that's a difference in privilege.
Yes,
that
it is.
in the Hispanic community, we have not said out loud.
We have not.
We also have not owned the damage and the rhetoric that we have towards the black community.
Ooh.
And these things, we run out of time. We need to resolve that now. We need to get over it now. We need to maybe do retributions of the damage that we have done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I feel very, very strong about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's another reason why you're here. But I mean, and I so much appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? But like, as a proud Afro-Latina, because that's also something that I love to, denote. And again, that I'm proud about it. You know what I mean? You're not going to hear me saying denying my African lineage. You know what I mean? Like, first of all, look at me. You know what I mean? And for those who can't look at me, you're going to remember I have melanin in my skin. And like, that is intentional. Like, the reason why that happened is because of all the mixing that took place and what Puerto Ricans even are. You know what I mean? So like, please, we're going to denote that, period. But I love that you brought that up, because I have seen tremendous community organizers, especially in the Latino community and beyond. But I have seen that division. I have absolutely seen it, and it does.
It's obvious.
Yes, and it pains me. It frustrates me. But I also don't understand, why are we treating these as separate struggles? I don't understand. And how are you not realizing you're making things more difficult instead of us coming together and realizing that, and how our histories are inextricably
Maybe you're
combined.
part of the problem.
Ooh.
Maybe,
But come on.
maybe
Yes.
I'm part of the problem, right? Maybe I'm the toxica. That's
I mean, let's look within, for real.
that's it. Looking there, and I think things like Hispanic Heritage Month is like one of those narratives that we have to change.
Yes.
So for me, Hispanic Heritage Month is a gringo thing.
Yep. I hear you. Say it. No,
Hispanic
let 'em
Heritage
know.
Month is a gringo thing that they invented, and now we have to deal with it.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
We have our celebrations. We had el Grito de Libertad en México, tenemos la Noche de la Puertorriqueñidad, tenemos el Grito de Independencia de todos los países venezolanos. We have Chile. We have historically a way to celebrate who we are. We do not need a Hispanic Heritage Month.
We don't.
But if you think about it as a product, as a vehicle, as a channel,
Come on.
right? And
Yep.
you know the separation in between what is you and your heritage and what need to be commercialized in the end pursuit of looking for advocacy, then you're like, okay, I can use this for my end goal.
Sure. Exactly.
And that's a big conversation right now for me.
Yes. And agreed. Because now, that's funny, because before you came on, that's what I said in the last episode as well. I was like, well, I mean, the fact that we have it, though, that's an issue, in and of itself. But is it an opportunity? Sure. I'm going to use it. You know what I mean? And and it's funny, because I will say that somebody was discussing about Target and some things. I'm not going to say who. Maybe you're looking at her. You hear from her right now. But it is true, though, the commercialization. And you love it during Black History Month, too. All of a sudden, let's bring out those Black products. You know what I'm saying? The thing like acting like we're having these conversations all year, which we're absolutely not, which we should. But if it's going to be an opportunity, sure. And that's what I was thinking, too. That's why I was like, so even me, I'm participating. Willingly, though, not going to lie, because I was like, you know what? If there's that chance and the pulse is there, because that's also what happens. It does create that. But I do love that you said it is a gringo holiday, because much like Cinco de Mayo, I am tired of
It's a gringo
educating.
holiday.
What the hell is that, y'all? Cinco de Mayo is not real. You know what I'm saying? So, but we did,
But
though.
who should make money out of it, right?
I mean-
that's the whole equation.
Amen.
Who should make money out of it is what I am here for advocating.
Absolutely.
Corporate America will never do anything out of the good of their heart.
No, they won't.
Corporate America will never do anything that they cannot prove that is profitable.
Yeah.
So my insistence in measuring what corporate America is doing is not because I want to celebrate what they're doing. It's
No.
nothing there. It's just I really want evidence
Yeah.
of how much we're rising,
Right.
and kind of activate us to use it and squeeze it more.
Come on.
Right?
Exactly.
If Target is investing all of these because they're made profitable through who we are,
Yep.
how we can have guardrails that we make sure it's us who get the pennies.
Come on.
That's my question. And also, if Target is willing to take the consequence of having a Pride collection, of having a Black History Month collection, if they put themselves as the martyrs who are doing this for social justice when we know that it's not true.
No, it's not.
What numbers they have about influence that we're not using for the real important things?
Come on. Yes.
Right? What do they know about where we're going, how we're voting, how we're consuming, how much influence we have? That somehow know that we can apply for the things that matter. And I think Hispanic Heritage Month is a great moment of that. Look at the companies who are desperately looking for something.
Yep.
Look at the companies who are like begging us for our talent. Look at the companies who are like chasing our kids in college to come and work for them. What do that means? Because it means that they see power and value in a community that is raising.
Yes, everything, all of that with exclamation points. But they were loud. And honestly, okay, so you know what else it made me think of was that, so I also used to be a National Council of La Raza. So like back in the day, so I was like one of the líderes summer staff participants.
Before Unidos US. Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, then it became Unidos US. I ain't gonna lie to y'all, like, come on now, my heart broke.
Raza.
Yeah, not that. Yeah, so I was like, what in the world? I remember seeing that. I also remember being heartbroken by when you attend the conference. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? It's this wonderful like collection of like Latino youth as well as the adults. Because actually it always takes place at the same time as the other national conference that they have. But like all the corporations, however, that were there and that were present and that made sure, you know what I'm saying, they were part of it. You go hear from me, you know what I'm saying? And look at me supporting this wonderful Latino initiative. You know what I mean? And all that, knowing I would never hear from them again. However, I definitely think that. Like I remember thinking like, but you know what? I think I'm gonna have to like, it's a struggle for me to see this, but if it is at least, you know, funding this where we're able to come together and there's opportunity.
Write the check. Where's the check?
I mean, sign it, you know what I'm saying?
Sign
exactly.
the check. Like that's my whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I sadly cannot operate without you. I have to deal with you. You're in the ecosystem. Like here we are.
Yes.
I wish something in the future different for our kids, but right now I have to deal with you. Sign the check.
Exactly. That is true because you have it. We know that, like you said, because they run our profit, because everything to them is about money. Good to know you have plenty of it. Is what I am aware of. So crew, like, can we tap into that? And that is, I think, what was excellent though about like college. College was my time where, you know, much like what we were talking about when it comes to activism, I had to learn how to channel it. In college, I was always just pissed. I was like, I'm learning about everything. Yeah, con todo, yeah, no me hables. You know what I'm saying? Porque, you know, estaba aprendiendo acerca de todo. And like, I was really learning about all the corruption in Puerto Rico. So I'm like, we gonna have to burn this shit down, y'all. Like, is everybody? Yes, exactly. For me, no other solution. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I'm pissed off. I need everybody else to be as pissed off as I am. Like, that's where I was. But it's like, mamita, but how you gonna get where you need to be? You know what I'm saying? And like, how are you gonna make some of these changes happen if all you're doing is only with the anger piece? You know what I mean? And not knowing how to channel that into proper activism, into community organizing and other things.
And I have a theory that we are the last generation. I mean, I assume we're the same generation.
Yeah.
That will play ball. Because if you see any stats of what is coming with Gen Zs, especially in Latinx Gen Zs,
right?
They will mash. They will turn the fire up.
Yep.
Like they have so little respect for authority as they should.
Yep.
They're so wise, so smart. They are so much more informed beyond our years. Amen. So I feel like our roles right now is to give a heads up to everyone that we're the last ones to play diplomacy. That we're the last ones to entertain any kind of things. Yep. Serve as a bridge. And at the same time, understand that as amazing as the younger generation is coming, as the fire that they have, is also the generation with the highest suicidal rates. So what kind of emotional intelligence us as elderly can give them in their identity true to them, right? That they can deal with all the realities that they're dealing and survive it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Because it does take that. And so like, and if you do engage in this work, there is a lot of like tests that come with it. Yeah. Willpower. And like, yeah, you are there's a lot of interesting, unique challenges that you're going to face, not just regular ones, but also unique ones that you're going to have to deal with creatively, but also equipped with the right resources, you know, literally. And so quite frankly, in many different areas. So I do love to see that. And I agree. I feel like that's another bridge that needs to happen.
And I also very interested in the concept of intersectionality, right? All the youth Latinid, you know, over 40% of Latinid youth identify as bisexual openly, which is a humongous number that we never have seen before. It was there before, but never have been said loud before. Yeah. What do we do with Latinidad transsexual community, right? We're so focused in one thing, when in reality, we need to diversify more. We need to support. We need to go to every corner. This time around, we cannot leave anyone behind it. Like, we know enough. We have enough. It's enough for everyone. Right. everybody can come to the race.
Exactly. There is a seat at the table.
It is a seat.
You know what I'm saying? All you need to do is pull
and
up.
it's our table. So
Yeah, I mean, amen. And that's what I'm thinking is that, like you said, we can use that table, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And infiltrate these spaces, you know what I mean? And make this change happen. But we need to not be cutting people out of it. Yeah. And so, like, we do it there. I feel like we definitely do it racially, you know what I mean? So I've definitely seen some people be like, well, that's not my conversation to have. And so then they don't even entertain it or contribute to it. But they'll do it also with those identities. And I definitely feel like that is another time. And I definitely think that in a time of social justice, reproductive justice, because again, hello, you know, shout out to that. And yeah, there is a election coming up in November. But again, you know, to be clear, in order for us to really like, you know, make sure that we know that, yeah, it's always going to do us a disservice to not come together and realize that instead of realizing that we have bigger issues to fight with each other, instead of using those. And actually, like you mentioned too, corporate America would love to see us actually divided on those issues and then stay back and then not be organized so that we cannot push forward. And then like, well, we'll continue to get profit while y'all figure it out.
It's hard to put our head around the fact that the majority of neighborhoods in Cleveland where the Hispanic community live are also the lowest voters representation and participation in the city.
Right.
I hate that number so far. You know, people like Jose and Danielle who work in public health, in public voters and activation and registration all day long. I have no idea how they do it because they go out there to people who are eligible to vote.
Yep.
Who have paid taxes their whole life, who are workers who the city is built in their back, and they still don't feel that it will matter if they participate. Yeah. The level of disattachment that they have put in us is so deep that we build it with our own hands and we still don't claim it.
Yes, that part. And I mean, and to be fair to y'all, as that person that y'all heard, right, that angry college student and all that, there have been times where I bought into that thought. I will say that, like, before I really got educated properly, I also felt that way. I thought that, like, you couldn't. So I can see where people are coming from. However,
100%.
Yeah, but however, I am refuting that. I mean, so to be clear, I have learned that in order to change a system, you have to still participate in it. I mean, I can't operate outside of it and then hope it changes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I hope, well, good luck with that. You know what I mean? And like, not. Still, so yes, I've had to learn.
It's many boards, it's many places of power that I have been the poster Latina person. Yep. Right?
Yeah, I imagine.
And I don't mind to be a poster, especially when it's very transparent that that's the situation.
Exactly.
My thing is like, you have me as a poster, but my job is to know that I will not be the first and the last. In fact,
amen.
I am coming with a whole tribe behind me.
Right.
And you must know that I'm a package deal.
Yes, know that part.
Yep. I also try to tell many places that I am the first. Like, listen, if you're reaching diversity quota with me, you have a problem, right?
Exactly.
If you think I'm the diversity that you need, you have a very big problem. And I really hate when they try to use us to also shake all of the diversity at once. Right? Yep. Having a Hispanic person in the board is not the same thing as you having a Afro-Latina in the board. It's not the same thing as you having a black woman in the board. It's not the same thing as you having a transsexual black woman in the board. Right. Get it straight. Don't cut corners. Right. And also it's our job to just invite each other. Yeah. I feel like we should be each other PR agents and like grabbing each other's hands and say, you're coming with me too.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to grow this, and the conversation is going to be so much richer because of that, you know, and inviting all these different voices and perspectives and doing all that. And I also appreciate like what you just said, because even though I'm also like a proud Afro-Latina, so that's why I'm glad we're having more conversations about that also, because even with that, and I have told y'all before, I don't always feel like I see myself represented, you know what I mean? Even with what we're doing, I feel like the efforts are amazing, but I don't think there's enough of that diversity there. And because like you mentioned, the intersectionality that goes into that, because I do feel like I'll see discrimination from multiple angles. And so that's why I can't help but not identify this way. I can't infiltrate the world as a white woman.
My goal is that we can be in a table of power with real money, with real decisions, and I can be across a Hispanic person, and I am safe enough to disagree with that person.
There you go. There you go. Yep.
And we can do it in an intellectual, respectful way. But the fact that we both will feel safe enough that we don't think that we have to do the performance as the poster people, and that we actually can use our brains even if we disagree, because disagreement will build something better together.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
is the goals that I am achieving on it.
Yes.
It's not so much about you. I also think we need to think about leadership as nameless, as faceless. It's not so much about who is it or or anything. It's about like what work is going to be remembered.
Yeah.
Independent from our names.
Right.
I think that have very much shift a lot of my mentality and again thinking about legacy and thinking about like what actually we're accumulating for.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. I love that you lead it with that. You know what I mean? So with that idea of legacy in mind and what impact are we going to have? Because that's what I've loved about anybody that's come on the show, which by the way, that, is willing to, share their time to like talk about that is that, yeah, because like what impact do we want to leave behind? That's also what we got to think about. And you know what I mean? And that, what influence would we like to have on others? Do we want that to be positive? Do we want that to have let it? And even if all we did was plant the seed for the next ones to then take that up, do we want to make sure that we did that? You know what I mean? That we can at least say that we set that up for the next people to then they can have those honest conversations, like you mentioned, and that are not performative.
You see people like Manny and Marisol and Rosa, like literally like swapping the floor of Clemente Park in their free Saturday, right? And these are all professional people with full-time jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're there Saturday morning cutting the grass. And then you get inspired by then of like, it's really not about you.
No, it's not.
It's just about the work getting done.
Exactly. And there's a greater cause here, you know what I'm saying, to get behind. But I love that you said that if we are going to go there and we're going to like do these rich efforts and we're going to have these great conversations, enough diverse people need to be there. And diversity does not mean one particular person or like you just checked off the damn box. Like that's not enough. It's definitely not enough. So like we definitely need to be challenging ourselves to do that. And I would love for those who are, listening and like if it's generating any thought for you that, there are different ways that participation for you can look very different depending on who you are, you know what I mean, and all that. But we can do this, you know what I mean, with one another and doing it this way, you know what I mean, and making sure that there's enough representation there, and that you do have enough people present so that thoughts can be challenged. And like you said, safely and securely, but like that it does happen. Because I agree. I don't want to be around people that all think the same. I don't need that. You know what I mean? I would like there to be some challenge there. Push me to this new height. You know what I mean? Help me to develop more. And even with the efforts I do in the advocacy, like you said, but how can I do that better? You know what I mean? And how can I be showing up more?
100%. And also, it's not safe for us to be the only ones in the room.
No.
We know what is going to happen historically, right? In the moment that we could become too spicy, or we no longer regulate according to their predisposition agenda, then we become the problematic one.
Yeah, we don't
and
need
they
that.
have to replace us with just another one, right? Like, it's not safe for us. It's not our best. We deserve to be in community. We deserve to have this partnership. And something that really I get a kick out of it is to show up in places that they don't expect in us.
Oh, come on with the sneak attack. No, fine.
They're showing up in places that they don't expect us is such a great strategy.
Right.
But it take going hand with hand with people that you trust, people that you know that will have your back even before you get into the dance, into the space. And it's not cheap. This is a luxury. This is a privilege. How we can do this pipeline better, how we can accumulate faster, how we can trust the youth.
Yes.
Any board that don't have people under 25, I am questioning them.
Ooh, y'all heard it. Yep.
Like, what are you doing? You're literally are not taking any influence from like one of the most powerful generations right now. Like,
I mean, hello, the most vocal, but
the most vocal,
right? They out here.
What are you doing with all these elder people here, right? We have to start questioning diversity more than just black and white.
Yes, we do all the time, and definitely be doing those analysis of like where are we and like what areas, what gaps do we have, what areas could we fill, and then absolutely, and how are we pouring into those people once we do bring them in and making sure that these things absolutely happen. So like I love, and with that I was about to say perfect thing is that, so I love that the way you're doing it. There's so many ways, but with your agency included and all these things, is there a vision for the future of like where you see that going, or just you period, or like as you continue to with
Pueblo, our goal is to serve Cleveland better by learning national things. We feel like sometimes Cleveland have like an allergy where we cannot think outside Cleveland. We cannot even mix East and West Side. Oof, that's too different. We cannot have
too much.
Too much.
Right.
Sometimes we're like, well, how about if we learn this from this city? And like, it would never happen here. Would
Right.
never happen.
True.
We just want to fast track that. We
Yeah.
think it's a lot of cool things are happening in Blackness and Latinidad around the country. That A, we can learn what not to do, and B, we can learn how to bring it here faster.
Let's go.
And I think our community deserves that.
Let's go.
Our
Right.
kids are online. Our kids know what is happening in other places.
Right.
They're looking at us like, when are you going to get the memo?
Right.
So a lot of what we think for Pueblo is to bring the very best of what we learn national practices about organizing, national practice about communication, efficiency. We think equipment. Our community need a lot of equipment.
Right. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
We infrastructure systems have how to do this, and we have been very inspired in what is happening. You know, Latinidad in other places is less talk about it because it's more live in it.
Right.
And we see that, and we're very jelly of that. We want to see how we can bring some of that here.
Yes.
Very much. So that's our vision. How do we play in the national stage?
Let's go, which is awesome and much needed. Yeah, definitely. Like if we're going to compete on those levels too, which unfortunately, I mean, of course it should be more community based, but you know, if we're going to do it, how do we do it?
I also think we lose a lot of talent because of it.
Right.
So how many stories we have of people who have like a great childhood in Cleveland. They're super thankful for the community. They grow up going to Sagrada on Sundays.
Yes,
they
they
grow
do.
up like, and then they're like, yes, and when I went to college, I have to stay over there because I could not imagine coming back and raising a family.
That's true.
Right?
That is very true.
So I think for retention in many ways, in the economic, but also in the cultural way, I want to make the city more attractive from the Latinidad perspective, very much.
Let's go.
I think Columbus is having a moment.
They are.
Cincinnati is having a great moment in Latinidad.
Right.
And there's such close neighbors. Why we cannot explore some of that here?
Exactly. Absolutely. And take, you know, like that great model, but also like replicate, you know, and also build upon it, you know what I mean? And use it as the example that it is. Agreed. So yeah, definitely. And I'm not gonna lie, I could like definitely have you on. You're gonna have to come back because there's so much more that I can delve into. Pero, you know, full sake of time, and just in case folks, like I said, want to reach out, I'm sure I would hope that they resonated with at least something. You know what I mean? That we have talked about. But if they would love to connect, learn more about you, anything like that, ma'am, how can they find you?
I am very good at Instagram.
Oh, there you go. It's the one. Hit her up on the gram, y'all.
That's the gram. That's like the place that I am myself. You know this about me. Like
Yes,
I just
Yes, I do. I'll be all up in the stories. Like, look at her.
look at her. I get into my moods. Me coge este complejo de periodista. Like I have to say something right now.
Exactly. It's that time.
It's that time. I am very approachable. I really think if you are going to take the title of a community leader, you better know your community.
Yes, amen. Amen.
Spend time literally with the people that you're claiming to serve.
Come on.
And do it with quality and do it with open-mindedness and also do it with humility. Like just being there, pick, you know, money want to broom, let's all broom. Like,
Yeah, exactly. We can clean that space up. Yep. We can all do that.
Let's all do that. It's not only yes to the boards, yes to consumerism trackers, yes to the data, but yes to also just be with each other.
Yes. Oh, yes. We can't do that enough.
We cannot do that enough. Your daughters do it right.
Yeah. Thank you. No, Bendito, that's true, though. I know they got a compliment the other day because of how helpful they were. And I was like, see what I'm saying? But agreed. And I did say that to them. And it's funny because I had let them know that, like my Mia, you know what I mean? She was a, like, janitorial worker. I remember we, like, got home and we were in bed. And then she looked at me and she was like, dang, did we take those trash bags out? And I'm like, ay, mommy, no. And so we had to go all the way back.
Bendito.
I know. But it's
that's
like,
character building.
Hell yeah, it was. And I mean, ever since that day, I was like, you will never disrespect, you know what I'm saying? Anybody in those positions, you will leave a place better than you found it. If I see something on the ground, I don't care if that's my space or someone else's, I'm going to pick that up.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
You go to somewhere like Gempi Garden, right?
Yep. Yeah, Barrio Boy, yes.
Barrio Boy, I'm like, I have never seen him sit down in his own garden.
Rarely, I'm telling you. I don't know if he sleeps.
I sit down in his garden. I appreciate the butterflies. I hear the poetry. I even have ice cream sometimes. And he's out there like nailing something and painting something, right?
For real. Continuing to enhance the space. Yep.
So if somebody like that needs somebody like me to send an email to somebody, that's the bare minimum that I can do.
It's the least I can do. Right.
And we work in that community. I have the connections. I have the ideas. You want me to show up in a meeting? Like, that's the bare minimum that I can do for the doers. So we need to respect the actual doers more.
Absolutely. Let's do it. And what was the Instagram handle, Miss Ma'am?
Just my name, Ariely Luengo.
Hey, so you find her. Check her out. Yes, join in on the rants, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Hit her up.
Gracias por tenerme.
No, gracias a ti. So I was like, and everyone, y'all, they're not like, it's truly a pleasure. They were, I could have did it with, always, like I said, I could have kept going on, and we will, I'm saying, in the future.
Happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
I know, right? Exactly. Indulge, y'all. Indulge. But if you won't, why don't you go ahead and donate to some of these efforts, like we said, you know what I'm saying? If you're thinking about it, why not? See how you can participate. But definitely, use these opportunities. Thank you so much for tuning in. Gracias de nuevo por estar aquí.
Really my pleasure.
Yay! And thank y'all as always. So, tune in again on Friday. We're going to do it again. Thank you.
This was great. I took at least 7 hours. This was amazing.
Awesome. That's the goal.